I used to think this sculpture was created by me. Then I thought it was created through me. Now I know it was created for me. Well, relatively speaking, was one of the first pieces I created after I began to think of myself as a sculptor, as an artist. I was doing some free sketching one night before I went to sleep, and my only intention was to create something or to design something that had a part that began on the inside of an opening and then transitioned to the outside. The design just came to me all at once, like a gift. And when I sculpted it, I stayed fairly close to that original design, which is pretty rare for me. As I carved and sanded the sculpture, I noticed that whether I considered a certain part to be inside or outside the opening depended on my comparing it to some other part. So in my mind, that little part's identity was not consistent. It was relative to what was around it. That's where the title, relatively speaking, originated. What I didn't realize at the time was that the sculpture would teach me a lesson that was almost the exact opposite of this original idea. I came to realize that by identifying something based on something else, I was defining it by what it wasn't and not by what it was. And that notion bothered me a little bit. So, as I pondered these ideas over time, my mind naturally made the leap to looking at how we identify people. For example, we call someone poor because someone else has more money. Not only do we identify a person based on someone else, we start assigning values to those identities. So now a person's worth as a human being is also being determined by how they compare to others. And these thoughts were really starting to trouble me. Reflecting on these thoughts from a historical perspective, I see that the greatest tragedies of human existence resulted from how we determined the value of someone else's life. War, slavery, religious and racial hatred and violence, gender inequalities, economic disparities, all of these resulted from someone believing their life was worth more than another person's life. And sadly, all of these assaults on divinity and humanity continue to this very day. On an individual level, I think we're taught from a young age in subtle ways that our self-worth is based on how we compare to other people. And of course, that's a big lie. Unfortunately, those on the losing end of that lie suffer a lot of emotional trauma and self-abuse. Our wonderful mental health providers spend a tremendous amount of time just helping people to believe the truth of their own worth. The term relative can refer to comparing, but it also means relationships. I think our identity and worth are enriched by how we're related, and I believe that everyone and everything is related. When I think about my own identity and worth, I'm drawn deeply into the spiritual realm. From an early age, voices within my religious tradition said that my true worth and identity were revealed by comparing myself with divinity, and of course, I didn't fare very well in that comparison. Their message led me to feel ashamed and defective simply because I wasn't divinely perfect. At the same time, I heard both religious and cultural voices say I was somehow superior to people who worshiped differently or who lived in other parts of the world. And that message encouraged me to feel pride and arrogance. These conflicting messages regarding my identity and our hierarchy of worth compared with others started to feel very wrong to me, and today I see them as both unhealthy and sometimes even dangerous. Most of all, they don't ring true to what I sense from divinity and from all of life. Like the seasons, my understanding of spirituality constantly changes, but on this day, I sense that my truest worth is found within the infinitely mysterious realm of divinity, not by comparing myself with divinity or with anyone else, and discovering who I am within divinity and in relation to all life has opened the door to a world I've barely begun to explore. A lot of these ideas began with a late night sketch and a block of wood, and that's pretty amazing to me, relatively speaking. I love you all. I honor your divine worth. I see your true beauty, and you can trust me on that. I'm a sculptor. As always, friends, peace and joy.